A wealthy single father observes a waitress joyfully dancing with her daughter, who has a disability, and it transforms his life in ways he never expected. The diner exuded a serene ambience that afternoon, illuminated by the warm golden rays filtering through the tall windows that adorned the front wall. Dust motes twirled in the quiet atmosphere, while the aroma of freshly baked pie and brewed coffee meandered gently through the space. Outside, life unfolded at a leisurely pace. A dog dozing on the sidewalk, the wind whispering through the leaves, and the occasional car gliding by, but all was calm, all was serene. Inside, Ellie meticulously wiped down a counter that had already undergone the cleaning process twice. No fresh orders were arriving, and there were no customers requiring assistance, save for one. Her eyes drifted to the distant corner of the diner, where the window booth awaited, and a gentle smile graced her lips. Max stood there, just 8 years old, his eyes wide and his expression earnest. He positioned himself in his wheelchair, a sketch pad resting on his lap, a crayon poised in his hand. Logan, his father, had gone outside to take a call, leaving Max by himself with his sketches. He consistently sketched trees, towering ones, crooked ones, occasionally adorned with birds and at other times bare of any foliage. Ellie moved in silently, lowering herself beside him to meet his gaze. "Hey Max," she said softly, tilting her head toward him. "How is the creation progressing today?" Max glanced upward, offering her the slightest hint of a smile. "It's a pine tree this time," he remarked, "similar to those that line our driveway." "It's beautiful," Ellie remarked, her head nodding in appreciation. "Your perspective is truly remarkable. Have you realized that?" He shrugged with a hint of humility, yet his smile remained, a subtle testament to his confidence. Then Ellie's voice became even more gentle. "What if we explore something new today? Only a single small step." Max opened his eyes wide. "Could you clarify what you mean?" She surveyed the vacant diner, then turned her gaze to him, a mischievous sparkle dancing in her eyes. "Only you and I. Just one step. Let's discover the extent of our journey." Max gazed at his lap, his hands gently curling inward. "It has been quite a while since I last stood." "I understand," she replied. "But I'll be right here. We'll take our time as if we're playing a game. Do you have faith in me?" He gazed into her eyes, recognized the doubt reflected within, and gave a nod. Ellie rose and delicately shifted his sketchpad to the side. She took her place next to him, extending both hands toward him. "All right, my friend. Are you prepared?" Max inhaled deeply, his tiny hands encircling hers. With meticulous attention, Ellie positioned one foot behind her and tugged softly, urging Max to lean in closer. His arms trembled and his legs struggled to cooperate, yet gradually, with a sense of uncertainty, he pressed down on the footrests and started to lift himself up. His knees quaked. Ellie provided him with support. "You're truly remarkable. Simply inhale and exhale." Max's legs felt rigid and hesitant, yet he managed to be upright, swaying slightly, but standing for the first time in nearly 2 years. His eyes grew large with surprise. "I'm awake." "Indeed, you are." Ellie smiled brightly, grasping his hands firmly. "Observe Max," he swayed, then hesitated a bit, and Ellie supported him under the arms before he could topple. Yet he remained upright. "Ready to make a move?" she murmured. Max nodded, his jaw clenched in focused determination. Ellie took a small step back, carefully directing his right foot forward, little by little. His left moved next, hesitant and tentative. She whispered a single count. 2. They shared a laugh, unsteady and gasping, as Ellie stepped back once more, with Max trailing behind her. He stumbled, yet he was making progress. "You're dancing with me," Ellie said with a smile. "Observe your progress." Max chuckled, a genuine, uninhibited sound of joy. Ellie danced lightly on the balls of her feet, spinning in a moment of pure joy, then extended her hand to him, allowing him to lean on her once more. She clasped his hands, and together they glided a few more steps across the vacant diner, her soft words of encouragement mingling with his laughter, which soared like a melody. The door creaked open, Logan entered, still engaged in a conversation on his phone. He stood still, his phone slipping from his grasp. In the heart of the diner, there he was, his son. His son, who had been unable to walk for almost 2 years, stood tall, grasping the hands of a young waitress, taking careful steps across the floor. Logan gasped for air, his throat constricting, his heart racing wildly. He gazed, still, observing Max advance with an expression of unadulterated happiness illuminating his features. Ellie lifted her gaze and spotted Logan. She took a moment, allowing Max to lean closer as she softly murmured, "Your dad's here." Max glanced over and offered a warm smile. "Look, Daddy, I'm walking." Logan advanced, moving deliberately with wide, astonished eyes, as a tide of emotion surged within him. He knelt down, arms wide open. Max released Ellie and stumbled forward, taking 2 more shaky steps before falling into his father's arms. Logan embraced him fiercely, indifferent to the tears cascading down his face. Max nestled into his father's shoulder, laughter bubbling up between his breaths. Ellie lingered close, her hands covering her mouth, her eyes sparkling with pride. Silence hung in the air, stretching on for what felt like an eternity. Then Logan lifted his gaze to her, his voice rough and strained. "In what way? What was your approach to achieving this?" Ellie shook her head, a single tear tracing a path down her cheek. "I did not." Indeed, he did. The world continued its relentless march beyond the confines of my thoughts. Vehicles drove by. The breeze whispered among the towering pines. Yet within the confines of that modest diner, an irreversible change had taken place, leaving everyone transformed in its wake. The diner exuded an unusual stillness the following morning. The familiar clatter of dishes and soft murmurs faded into silence, overshadowed by an unvoiced tension in the air. Logan sat alone in the corner booth, gazing at the menu or the window. They focused on Ellie. She glided between tables with her characteristic elegance. Yet now Logan perceived it in a new light, not merely a task or duty, but as a meaningful endeavor. Her smile held a secret, a depth that transcended mere courtesy and resonated with an unspoken familiarity. As she made her way to his table, he rose, a sense of uncertainty washing over him. "May we have a conversation?" he inquired. Ellie nodded, taken aback yet unafraid. "Of course," she replied. "Would you like to head out to the back?" The narrow passageway behind the diner lacked elegance, yet it offered a serene stillness. A solitary wooden bench rested beneath a weathered tin awning. The aroma of bread and lavender drifted gently from the herb garden that Ellie had lovingly cultivated in weathered pots. They took their seats. Logan was the one to shatter the stillness first. "I'm curious to find out what you did for Max yesterday. What is the reason?" Ellie gazed at her hands, fingers entwined in her apron. She inhaled deeply, "Because someone once had faith that I could dance again as well." His brow furrowed, a look of bewilderment crossing his face. "Shall we dance?" She inclined her head with a measured, deliberate motion. "I once embraced the art of dance. Dance styles include ballet, modern, and a touch of ballroom. I embarked on a journey with a small company immediately after graduating from high school. It meant the world to me." Logan listened, surprised by the gentle quality of her voice. "I had just secured a solo in a significant production, my inaugural moment in the spotlight. Just a fortnight prior to the grand opening, I found myself in a car accident. It wasn't a major incident, but it was sufficient to result in a fractured hip and a torn ligament. The operation carried significant risks. The rehabilitation process stretched on for an extended period. My insurance, let's just say it fell short when it came to covering the aspirations of recovery." Her voice remained steady, yet her words began to linger. "I've lost it all. The position I held in the company, the scholarship I was set to begin that autumn, the dance studio where I had trained brought in someone new, and my parents. They were at a loss when it came to understanding a daughter who couldn't fulfill the expectations placed upon her from the start." Logan remained silent. There was no obligation on his part. "I took on various jobs, attempting to settle the medical expenses, and now I find myself here, serving tables, convincing myself this is just a phase. Yet, the reality was that I found myself in a bind. Ellie finally faced him, her gaze both fragile and unwavering. When I first laid eyes on Max, I sensed that familiar gaze, a subtle sorrow, that resigned acceptance of fate. I have experienced it firsthand. I understand the sensation of yearning to take a step forward, yet feeling as though an invisible force has anchored you in place. Logan gazed at her, his throat constricted. You recognized a reflection of yourself in him. I continued to do so. A moment lingered in the air, thick with a silent bond. He confessed that he initially believed you were simply passionate, perhaps a bit too generous. I failed to notice. I understand, Ellie replied softly. The majority do not. All right, they notice the apron and the coffee pot and assume that's everything there is to it. However, it isn't. No, she replied gently. It certainly isn't. The breeze danced through the foliage in the pots, whispering secrets to the lavender and thyme. Ellie gazed upward at the vast expanse of the sky. There was a moment when I contemplated giving up, struggling to make ends meet for even the simplest of meals, weighed down by an unrelenting pain that stole my ability to move freely and left me gasping for the memories of who I once was. She glanced over her shoulder at him, her voice quivering for the first time. But then Max entered the room. Week after week, he smiled at me as if I truly mattered. He was unaware of my past, yet in some way he guided me toward a fresh narrative. Logan was rendered speechless. He simply gazed at her, the woman who had raised his son through sheer belief and perseverance, and who, in doing so, had rediscovered something truly valuable to cling to once more. He finally admitted that you saved him. Ellie gently shook her head, a subtle gesture that spoke volumes. No, he rescued me. In that stillness, a transformation occurred, altering not only Logan's perception of Ellie but also reshaping his view of his own existence. He carried his sorrow as if it were a shield, maintaining a distance from the world around him. In that moment, a waitress with a limp and a tale to tell had pierced through the defenses with sheer kindness and the bravery to embrace the rhythm of life once more, one step at a time. The sun was just starting to ascend, bathing the rooftops in a gentle golden glow as Logan drove into the diner's parking lot. It had transformed into a cherished routine. In the stillness of early mornings, with quiet booths surrounding, Max's sketch pad lay open on the table, while Ellie glided between customers, embodying the essence of sunlight and melody. Yet Logan no longer arrived solely for the routine or even for the tranquility. He arrived for her. Logan Evans was a figure many characterized as accomplished, leading a thriving tech company, with a fortune in the millions, a name that drew respect in any corporate setting. Yet, no one ever portrayed him as affectionate, cheerful, or complete, not since the loss of his wife. 2 years had passed, yet the sorrow remained unchanged, merely becoming more adept at concealing itself. He immersed himself in his tasks, meticulously organizing Max's therapies and managing every detail within his grasp. For the uncontrollable had stripped away everything he held dear. Despite all his influence and wealth, nothing had altered what he had come to believe was unchangeable. Max believed he would never walk again, but then came Ellie. Initially, he had brushed her off, viewing her merely as a waitress, overly cheerful for his taste. But then he noticed how Max's face brightened when she entered the room, how his gaze tracked her every movement, as if her presence eased the ache within him. Every time Logan found himself seated across from his son, observing Ellie kneel beside Max's wheelchair, gently coaxing him to attempt a stretch, guiding his hands into a new pose, and encouraging just one more second on his feet, he felt a flicker of hope he thought he had lost long ago. In the coming weeks, a subtle transformation started to unfold. Max chuckled even more. He requested to visit the diner, even on days when Logan felt too weary to protest. He began to hum the melodies that Ellie had once filled the air with from the radio during her work. One afternoon, Logan entered and encountered something that left him utterly frozen. In the heart of the dining room, Ellie stood with her hands lifted high, while Max remained beside her, neither grasping her nor leaning against any furniture, simply standing still. His legs quivered, his expression intense, yet he stood tall, unaided. It was a fleeting moment, yet Logan found himself gasping for air. Ellie turned and locked eyes with him, her smile broad and brimming with emotion. Max glanced over, beaming with pride and joy. "Hey Dad, did you catch that?" Logan gave a slight nod, his throat tightening as he swallowed. "I certainly did, my friend. I witnessed it all." As the evening wore on, with Max having completed his dinner and drifting into a deep slumber in the back seat, Logan found himself seated alone behind the wheel of his car, parked outside their home. The radio remained silent, the streetlights emitted a soft hum, and Logan gazed through the windshield, frozen in place. Silent droplets cascaded down his cheeks, catching him off guard before he even acknowledged their presence. He remained composed, unyielding in his resolve. It was more subdued than that, merely a man releasing something he had clutched too tightly for far too long. Sadness, remorse, anxiety, it all flowed quietly down his face. For the first time since his wife's funeral, Logan permitted himself to embrace a notion beyond mere survival. He had faith in what could be achieved. He had faith in Max. For perhaps the first time, he held on to the belief that they could truly be all right. And beyond that, he held on to the thought that perhaps, just perhaps, he was permitted to hope once more. He glanced at the rearview mirror, catching sight of his son nestled comfortably, a gentle smile lingering on his face. In that moment, he recalled Ellie, her soothing voice, her unwavering spirit, and how she perceived Max not as damaged, but as courageous. And Logan murmured softly into the stillness, "Thank you." Uncertainty loomed over him, yet for the first time in ages, a spark of curiosity ignited within him, urging him to discover what the next day might hold. It started with a straightforward inquiry, posed with a flicker of courage and optimism. On a serene afternoon, while Max dozed in the booth following an especially lengthy session, Ellie settled into the seat opposite Logan and met his gaze directly. "Allow me to collaborate with him, each and every day. Post-classes." Logan's eyes fluttered open. "You consistently exceed expectations." "I wish to accomplish more," she said softly. "I would like to explore a new idea. Steady, concentrated. It's more than mere stretching or standing. I wish to assist him with his move." Logan paused, caught in a moment of uncertainty. His initial reaction was to refuse, to safeguard, to dominate. Yet, he couldn't shake the image of Max from his mind. How his eyes sparkled the moment he entered the diner, how his laughter intertwined with Ellie's, and how he stood there, words trapped in his throat. "Very well," he replied. "Absolutely." Logan's backyard was transformed into a realm of enchantment. It began with a small patch of flat earth, meticulously cleared of foliage. Ellie introduced some vintage yoga mats, enchanting garden lights, and a speaker that filled the air with gentle classical melodies. Logan assisted her in constructing a railing using PVC pipe and wood, ensuring it was low enough for Max to grasp. They collaboratively outlined the dance floor using chalk. Every line represents an aspiration, a limit, a progression. Ellie referred to them as enchanting trails, and Max cherished them deeply. Every afternoon, following the end of school and work, they convened in the backyard, with Max sporting sneakers instead of his typical brace, and Ellie dressed in leggings paired with a faded tank top featuring a dancer's silhouette across the chest. Logan frequently positioned himself on the porch, feigning interest in the newspaper, yet his gaze remained fixed on the pair. "Very well," Ellie would respond. "Today we dance gracefully." In a manner befitting a true gentleman, Max let out a soft giggle. "However, I lack the ability to dance." "You already are," she whispered, softly encouraging him to move his foot forward, then to the side. First a step, then another. There were days when Max found it difficult to rise to his feet. On certain days, he managed to reach the midpoint of the yard. On certain days, he would fall into Ellie's embrace, laughter spilling forth, never showing signs of defeat. Initially, Logan did not join them. Eventually, Ellie would notice him rolling up his sleeves, dragging a rake across the grass, quietly creating a clear path to prevent Max from tripping. Then one day, he took Max's other hand, and they moved forward together, 3 steps as one. Father, son, and the woman who had transcended her former role. In fleeting yet vivid instances, Logan and Ellie would catch each other's gaze from across the yard, not with playful banter but with a shared comprehension. A silent exchange that conveyed, we are creating something meaningful together. On a radiant evening, as the sun sank low and bathed the backyard in hues of copper and amber, Max perched on the edge of the mat, gazing up at his father. Dad, he asked, do you believe Mom can see me at this moment? Logan stood still. Ellie also did. He knelt beside his son, a slow nod accompanying his thoughtful gaze. It seems she encounters you daily. Do you believe she feels a sense of pride? I think, Logan whispered, gently running his fingers through Max's hair. She has never felt a greater sense of pride. That evening, Ellie lingered a bit more. After dinner, Max dozed off on the couch, and Logan escorted her to her car. The porch light danced, creating a cozy glow that enveloped them. Thank you, he murmured softly, for restoring a piece of his existence. Ellie gazed at him, her voice gentle. He's returning it to me as well. They lingered in quietude for a heartbeat, an unvoiced connection weaving through the air between them. After that, she departed. After hours of restless tossing, Ellie found herself back again. Her phone charger lay abandoned on the porch, a forgotten relic of the day. She parked softly, careful not to disturb them, but as she approached the porch, she hesitated. The yard was softly illuminated by the glow of the moon, and in the center of the chalk-marked floor stood Logan. He knelt, hands joined before him, his head lowered in reverence. His voice reached her ears, gently floating through the quiet air. Please, he whispered, just let him dance once in his life. Neither for me nor for her, solely for him. He truly merits that. Ellie remained motionless, her heart heavy with sorrow. She had witnessed Logan's strength, his fury, his restraint, but never this. This plea is unlike any other, raw, beautiful, and utterly compelling. In that instant, clarity washed over her. A figure, apparent, the sorrow, the aspiration. She withdrew, quiet, allowing the prayer to linger in the atmosphere, untouched, for it held a sanctity of its own. Perhaps, just perhaps, the answer was already unfolding. The ballroom buzzed with joyous laughter, the delicate sound of champagne flutes clinking, and the smooth notes of jazz wafting through the atmosphere. Above the gathering of donors, executives, and philanthropists, crystal chandeliers glimmered, illuminating the scene beneath the banner of Logan's new initiative, a foundation dedicated to supporting children with mobility challenges. The occasion was magnificent, the sort of celebration that sparked hushed conversations for weeks prior, and every detail needed to be flawless. Ellie lingered in the shadows, concealed by the plush curtain, grasping Max's tiny hand. He donned a crisp white button-down shirt, neatly tucked into sleek black pants, his shoes gleaming and laced securely. She knelt before him, delicately adjusting his collar with a tender hand. Are you certain you're prepared for this? She inquired, her tone barely audible over the melody. Mac nodded, his eyes wide yet composed. I dedicated myself to daily practice. Ellie beamed, her heart racing. Do you recall the steps? 1, 2, hold, pivot, he intoned. That's my man, she murmured. She clasped his hand gently and pressed a soft kiss to the crown of his head. Let's demonstrate our capabilities. Across the expanse of the ballroom, Logan engaged in dialogue with a prominent benefactor when his gaze drifted to the stage, catching a flicker of motion behind the curtain. His brow knitted in concentration. The performance had not been arranged yet. It was merely a short musical interlude, nothing beyond that. Suddenly, the lights faded to darkness. A silence enveloped the room as the MC advanced. Esteemed guests, she announced, before we proceed, we have a delightful and unique surprise to share with you. The piano started, gentle, tender melodies cascading like a gentle stream. Logan shifted his gaze to the stage as the curtain drew back, revealing Max stepping into the spotlight. Logan stood still. His son was walking freely, without braces or a wheelchair. Each step he took was deliberate, cautious, and calculated. The audience was captivated, their breaths caught in anticipation as Ellie trailed behind him. With each careful movement, her hands rested softly at her sides, prepared to catch him should he falter. Logan advanced a step. Panic danced in his gaze, his voice trapped within his throat. "Ellie, what are you up to?" But then Max shifted his gaze, locking eyes with his father amidst the crowd. He grinned. "I want to give it a shot," he declared, his voice cutting through the soft melodies. "For you and for her." Logan's heart tightened. The melody rose. Max continued to move forward, step by step. There are 6 in total, moving slowly and deliberately, yet standing tall. As he arrived at the heart of the stage, Ellie stepped forward, gently clasping his small hand in her own. And then, gently, they pivoted. A single turn, a complete revolution, a graceful movement. Imperfect, yet vibrant, filled with joy and authenticity. The crowd inhaled sharply, then burst into a symphony of applause, shouts, and tears. Amidst the crowd, phones were lifted to seize the moment, yet Logan remained still. He simply observed, his hand resting over his heart, his eyes aflame with feeling. Max laughed, his eyes sparkling beneath the stage lights. Ellie spun gracefully beside him, then gracefully knelt, allowing him to lean on her as they both bowed together. The applause roared. Logan advanced cautiously, placing one foot in front of the other. As they approached the brink of the stage, Max extended his hand toward him. Logan lifted him effortlessly, cradling him tightly, overwhelmed with emotion and unable to find the words. "You did it!" he murmured softly into his son's hair. "You truly accomplished it." Max smiled broadly. "We accomplished it, Miss Ellie and I." Logan cast a glance at Ellie. Then, she lingered close, brushing away a tear from her cheek, her smile gentle yet luminous. He silently expressed his gratitude. "Thank you." She offered no verbal reply, merely a nod. For certain moments required nothing more. That evening, beneath the glimmering chandeliers of the ballroom, an event unfolded that transcended mere entertainment. A boy danced, a father believed, and a woman who had once lost everything helped create something unforgettable. Not for recognition, not for accolades, but for affection. The melody, soft and timeless, resonated within their souls. The days that came after the gala shimmered with a subtle, enduring enchantment. Logan and Ellie found themselves enjoying each other's company more frequently, stepping away from the confines of therapy sessions and hushed conversations at the diner. Instead, they embraced long evening strolls, shared meals at Logan's place, and laughter that flowed effortlessly between them. Max radiated joy more than anyone else. With a sense of triumph, he announced one evening, leading Ellie by the hand into his room, a pile of books tucked under his arm, ready to share his tales. Ellie chuckled, allowing him to settle into bed as Logan stood in the doorway, arms crossed, observing them as if he were capturing a fleeting memory. He confessed that she surpassed him in the art of voices, as Ellie animated a dragon with a flawless growl that sent Max into fits of joy. As the weeks unfolded, they found their groove, not flawless, not rehearsed, but authentic. One morning, a letter came for Ellie. She unveiled it at the kitchen table, her fingers quivering ever so slightly. Max and Logan observed, intrigued. As she spoke the words, her voice trembled. She received acceptance into a year-long certification program aimed at becoming a licensed dance therapist, focusing on children with mobility impairments. The scholarship encompassed all expenses, including tuition, housing, and materials. She gazed upward, taken aback. It's located in Chicago. Silence enveloped the room for a brief moment. Logan rose to his feet, approached her, and enveloped her in a warm embrace. "You must leave," he stated firmly. "This is your true calling." Her eyes brimmed with tears, yet her thoughts lingered on Max. "What about us?" Logan beamed, cradling her face tenderly. "We're here to stay. Your aspirations and our connection can coexist harmoniously." And just like that, the anxiety that had been tightly wound in her chest since the envelope arrived started to unravel. That evening, as they rested beneath a canopy of stars in Logan's backyard, with Max peacefully slumbering indoors and the world quiet around them, Ellie glanced over at Logan. Do you ever feel fear? She inquired. Am I going to leave that as well? Could this be fleeting? He paused, the moonlight glinting off the sharp line of his jaw. He turned his gaze toward her. I'd prefer to embrace love and face the pain of losing you, he murmured softly, than to never take the chance at all. Her breath hitched, for that was the essence of Logan. He rarely uttered many words, yet when he expressed his true feelings, they resonated with the gravity of countless unspoken vows. In that instant, Ellie realized he was completely committed. Just 2 days later, an unexpected event unfolded that took everyone by surprise. Once more, they gathered in the yard, with Ellie sketching fresh chalk paths, Logan arranging the speaker, and Max bubbling with enthusiasm for their cherished daily ritual. As Ellie prepared to start the music, Max unexpectedly rose to his feet, without any encouragement or assistance. Hold on, he exclaimed, his eyes alight with a fervent intensity. Allow me to give it a shot. Ellie and Logan stood still, while Max inhaled deeply. With no hands to guide him and no rail to hold on to, he took a step forward. With each step, I moved forward one after the other. 3 complete, firm strides followed by 2 additional ones. He tripped on the 6th, tumbling into Logan's embrace, yet he was laughing, gasping for air, triumphant. Ellie covered her mouth with her hand, her eyes brimming with emotion. Logan embraced his son tightly, tears flowing unabated down his face. You've accomplished it, he murmured. You truly accomplished it. Max gazed at Ellie, still taken aback, and said with a smile, I wanted to catch you off guard. She sank to her knees beside him, enveloping him in a warm embrace. The most incredible surprise I've ever experienced. That moment solidified something profound. It wasn't solely Max's strength or Logan's love that mattered. It was the realization that whatever lay ahead, Chicago, challenges, change, they had transcended mere support in each other's healing journeys. They were united as a family, and nothing could ever change that bond. The dance studio was infused with the aroma of fresh paint and the soothing scent of lavender floor polish. Sunlight streamed through the lofty windows, cascading onto the wooden floors like a shimmering golden river. Ribbons draped gracefully from the mirrors, gentle melodies floated through the air from a vintage speaker nestled in the corner, and the sound of laughter resonated throughout the space. In the heart of the scene, Ellie stood barefoot, clad in soft leggings and a crisp white blouse. Her hair was neatly tied back, and her eyes sparkled with a sense of pride. Amidst her children, a delightful, awkward dance unfolded. Some ambled with braces, others navigated with walkers, some spun with arms wide open, while others gently swayed in their spots. It was of no consequence. In this place, each child moved with grace, and Max stood close by her side. By the age of 10, he had taken on the role of her unofficial aide, softly encouraging a timid newcomer, showcasing the warm-up stretches, and even assisting in selecting the music for their weekly freestyle circle. He donned a whistle around his neck reminiscent of a coach, yet he employed it solely to elicit laughter from those around him. He frequently remarked that he wasn't a genuine educator. You're the most exceptional kind of educator, Ellie always responded. You're familiar with the essence of effort. Following each session, parents congregated by the windows, emotions swelling as they observed their children moving in ways that had once been deemed unattainable by medical professionals. Ellie's classes flourished, fully funded by Logan's foundation, which had grown and thrived. Yet, she never mentioned finances. Her focus remained solely on movement, music, and hope. The wedding was just 2 weeks away. Ellie and Logan orchestrated their vision with effortless charm, envisioning a garden ceremony nestled behind the studio, adorned with fairy lights, wildflowers, and a dance floor that sparkled beneath the stars. Forget the caterers and tuxedos. It's all about love, laughter, and embracing fresh starts together. Max's enthusiasm surpassed that of everyone else. He approached his responsibilities with utmost dedication, crafting invitation cards by hand, curating songs for the playlist, and composing a speech that he protected fiercely. Only Ellie was aware of his anxiety regarding reading it aloud. "You'll be wonderful," she said to him one evening as he rehearsed softly in front of the mirror. "You truly embody the essence of this family." On the eve of the wedding, Ellie found herself in the studio, her eyes fixed on a white garment bag that swayed gently from the wall. With a deliberate motion, she unzipped it, her hands quivering just a bit. Inside lay the ballet costume she had never donned, crafted from white chiffon, adorned with delicate tulle, and embellished with stitched lace along the neckline. She had preserved it all these years, tucked away like a fragment of a different existence, but now it no longer symbolized something that was gone. It had evolved into something entirely different. On the day of the wedding, she donned it, not as a performer seeking admiration, but as a woman entering a life she had meticulously crafted with elegance, struggle, and intention. The garden radiated a gentle illumination. Rows of chairs flanked the aisle. Gathered together were friends, family, and students from the studio, all sharing smiles and tissues. Max stood at the front, cradling the ring box with a sense of solemn pride. Logan observed Ellie as she made her way down the aisle, her dress shimmering in the light as if it were destined for this very occasion. His gaze remained fixed on her. The ceremony was brief yet deeply moving. They shared their promises amidst joy and emotion. As the officiant declared them husband and wife, the audience burst into applause, with Max being the first to rush forward and embrace them both. At last, the time had arrived that Max had been readying himself for. He ascended the modest platform, took a moment to clear his throat, and raised a neatly folded piece of paper. He started, his voice wavering just a bit. "I was going to share something humorous, but I believe this is more fitting." He cast a quick look at Ellie, followed by Logan, before his gaze fell to the paper in front of him. "I once believed that dancing was not for me. I once believed that dreams were meant for others. But then she entered my life, and she not only taught me how to dance, but also how to find joy once more." He faced Logan, and it wasn't merely about protection. He had faith in me even during times when I struggled to believe in myself. He had faith in us both. Max inhaled deeply, and I simply wished to express my gratitude. He surveyed the gathering, then turned his gaze back to his parents. "She guided me in the art of dance, while he instilled in me the power of belief." A moment of silence lingered, then erupted into a cascade of applause, cheers, and tears. Ellie brushed away her tears. Logan leaned in and enveloped Max in a warm embrace. That night beneath the stars, Ellie and Logan shared their first dance as husband and wife, while Max twirled alongside them, moving to his own beat, enveloped by the warmth of friends and family, on the very floor where he had once taken his tentative first steps. It transcended mere recital or performance. It was their existence, and it radiated beauty. The landscape glowed under the warm embrace of the late afternoon sun, casting a gentle, tender hue that seemed to soften the world, as if nature itself took a moment to honor something divine. Wildflowers danced gently in the breeze, while the tall grass glimmered beneath the warm glow of the setting sun. A handcrafted wooden arch, elegantly adorned with unpretentious linen and entwined vines, stood proudly at the heart of the scene. Attendees were arranged in neat lines of white chairs embedded in the ground, their expressions radiant with feeling and eager expectation. There was no elaborate symphony, no lavish entrance, just the sweet sound of birds, the gentle whisper of the breeze, and the soft, solitary notes of an acoustic guitar playing quietly from the outskirts of a clearing. Ellie lingered at the aisle's edge, her white ballet dress dancing gently with every step she made across the grass. She walked without shoes, her hair cascading in soft curls, adorned with a delicate crown of baby's breath interwoven among the locks. As she moved ahead, her gaze remained fixed on Logan, who lingered beneath the arch in a gray vest with rolled sleeves, emotion evident in his eyes. Max stood beside him, a small matching boutonniere affixed to his jacket, his hands neatly clasped in front of him. Upon spotting Ellie approaching, a broad grin spread across his face. As Ellie approached the arch, Logan gently grasped her hands. For an extended moment, they simply gazed at one another, absorbing all that had led them to this point. Each autumn, Each stride, every melody that had guided them to this serene, sunlit spot. The officiant spoke with a light touch, blending humor and warmth. Yet it was the vows that brought a hush over the gathering. "I once believed my tale concluded on a stage," Ellie confessed, her voice quivering. "But it seems that was merely the opening act. You offered me a renewed opportunity, not merely in matters of the heart, but in experiencing happiness, finding meaning, and embracing kinship." Logan's voice resonated with a calm and unwavering tone. "You entered our world and created harmony in the midst of quietude. You didn't merely show Max how to dance. You helped me rediscover my emotions. I promise to be by your side, no matter if we are flying high or facing challenges." Naturally, there were tears. Soft gasps echoed through the crowd as hands intertwined in a delicate embrace. As the officiant declared them husband and wife, the audience burst into applause. Just as Ellie and Logan were about to share a kiss, Max intervened, stepping forward and extending his hand to Ellie. "Would you do me the honor of this dance?" he inquired. Ellie knelt gently, her smile radiant. "It is possible." The guitarist strummed a gentle, soothing tune. Max gently clasped Ellie's hand, his other hand softly resting in hers. As they swayed together beneath the arch, surrounded by guests, in front of the world, Logan approached, one hand resting gently on Ellie's back while the other firmly grasped Max's shoulder. The trio moved gracefully, forming a flawless triangle as they danced slowly together. There was no planned routine, no staged act, just fluidity, bond, affection. The audience stood still, emotions spilling over, joy etched in their expressions. As the sun sank lower, spilling its golden light across the field, the family stepped beyond the arch and into the expanse of green grass. Ellie spun gracefully, Max moved with assurance, and Logan trailed behind with a fluidity that stemmed from a deep sense of awareness. They twirled until the horizon blazed with warmth, until the celestial bodies flickered into existence, until only the echoes of rhythm, of grace, of an unforgettable instant lingered in the air. Ellie gazed up at Logan, with Max comfortably nestled between them, and whispered, "We did it." Logan smiled warmly, pressing a gentle kiss to her forehead. In unity, as the final moments of the day unfolded, the sky transformed into a soft lavender hue, and the field fell into a serene hush. Three figures twirled gracefully beneath the vast expanse, united in a dance of connection and emotion. Neither a performance nor a fantasy, but a reality. One movement, one affection, one eternity. As the last echoes of their dance dissolved into the dusk, we are reminded that healing does not always arrive with grand victories, but frequently in soft moments, tender touches, and the bravery to move forward just one more time. Ellie, Logan, and Max revealed that family transcends mere biology. At times, it's a creation we construct, piece by piece, moment by moment, and rhythm by rhythm. If this narrative resonated with you, evoked the essence of second chances, and highlighted the beauty of faith in others, please think about subscribing to Soul-Stirring Stories. Here, we present stories that elevate, motivate, and serve as a testament to the strength of the human spirit. Thank you for tuning in, and keep in mind, occasionally it only requires a single dance to transform a life.